Hello, everyone. It is time once again for mid-card mono. We got over here
Hot dog.
Sam Killer, the wrestling connoisseur.
Emmy.
We got right here future world champ Allison. We got, of course, me over here,
I'm
loose
just your
cannon,
guest.
and sorry, overcompensated too much. And today we're gonna be, because it's been a while, so we're gonna try and talk about a whole bunch of stuff that happened in the WWE since the last time that we have been here with you guys. So of course there was a couple of pay-per-views. There was NXT TakeOver Chicago and Money in the Bank that both happened.
Want a wing?
That's my heavy sigh.
Want a wing?
So where to begin? I mean, let's just do a little bit about Money in the Bank. So Money in the Bank, of course, some of the big highlights of Money in the Bank are Alexa Bliss winning the women's Money in the Bank ladder match, Braun Strowman winning the men's, Ronda Rousey having her first singles match on a pay-per-view against Nia Jax.
Let's talk about the build to Money in the Bank.
Look. Every ear.
Eat it. Eat your ear. What a shit build. I'm sorry. I mean, there was build.
You're not
There
sorry.
was build.
You're not sorry.
It wasn't good build.
It was not
very bad. Like the whole Nia Ronda thing took so many different
It was just weird. It was just weird because of the fact that
It was really
before
bad.
that, Nia was being
Nia
pushed
was
as like
built
this huge,
as this huge
baby
face.
face.
The anti-bullying campaign sort of thing they were going with, and then like all this
Body positivity, all
90-degree
that.
turn. Then they had this. It started off like I'm challenging Ronda Rousey because she's this huge name, and it was like, well, this is a little strange. You know,
And it's sort of like, okay.
Yeah. The champion is going to challenge someone essentially for her first big defense. So, yeah, that was super weird. Then they had Natalie. You can. I'm gonna use a fork. Then they had Natalie Neidhart tied into that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm friends with both of you. But then she gets a title shot, which was kind of like out of the blue as well. And then Ronda's all like super possessive. She's my friend. She's my friend too.
It was weird.
One week, Nia is like super heel, and then the next week she's like baby face again.
Yeah, so
just
it's
like,
baffling
oh my God.
because they had a
writing
moment
this
where I
shit?
think they realized that having Nia be heel
It
was
wasn't working.
just completely undid everything that they had worked for
There was
for
no
the better
turn.
part of this year, and then they had to be like, oh, well, I wasn't really trying to be mean. I was just trying to egg you on to see
Yeah.
how you would react, and I just wanted to bring out the best in you. And I was like, you know what this sounds like? This sounds like the stuff that Alexa Bliss was saying about you.
No, it's just really weird because they're doing this whole turns without turns sort of thing. It's just like all of a sudden out of the blue, you're heel.
Yeah,
And yes, that will work if you're a nobody.
but
You know, if you're below Kurt Hawkins on the roster, because Kurt Hawkins is essentially a heel, and even though he loses every week, he's the heel jobber kind of.
yeah,
And if they bring you in and you're nobody, like whoever fought Authors of Pain this week, you can be heel one week and you can be face the next, and it doesn't matter.
nobody's
because
gonna really notice,
You're not an essential part of the show,
and you're not an established character.
right? If you're the women's champion,
There needs
And
to be
you've been
some semblance of
built
consistency.
face? yeah, you've been built face
Just
to
ideally,
win this
I mean,
title for the last couple months.
yeah.
And essentially, this storyline has been going on for like a year and a half, maybe 2 years of teasing to turn Nia face.
Yeah.
So this has been a big build to turn.
And
her
then
face.
once she actually had the big moment where she, won and stood up for herself and was just like, I don't have to take this just because you're pretty and I thought
Yeah.
you were my friend. Why are you doing this to me? Which is and I've had rants about this, and Sam Keller can attest to this. It's something that people can really relate to. As like, as a fat chick, yeah, I've had the pretty girlfriends that have been mean to me behind my back, and I find out about it. It hurts. But the whole thing with Naya is her message of, you don't have to take this just because you think someone is your friend. You don't need those kinds of friends. You can make other friends. You don't need other people to value you. You just have to learn to value you.
So
Which is a great
it
message,
is a great
honestly.
message.
And then they turn her back heel and completely renege on everything.
But the thing is that even after they turned her heel, it wasn't even like a turn. She was just heel. All
She's
of
just
a sudden.
mean
And
randomly.
then the next week, she wasn't.
Yeah.
And then the next week, it was like, it's just been super confusing.
Yeah, it's been really
In
inconsistent.
the meantime, Ronda Rousey, who still has a lot to learn.
Yeah.
I don't want to like
Props
teabag Ronda.
to her though for doing the crossbody. You know,
Yeah,
it's a simple
she's-
move, but for someone who is mostly
she's
focused
learning.
on groundwork, that's a big step.
She's learning, and that's great. And then she has a long way to learn about character development and all these other things. They put her out there, and her actions and her speech and everything, that she's so used to doing this character from UFC.
Yeah.
She's that character in WWE now, and it comes off as heel.
Yeah.
And everything she says,
it's very
she's defensive. And she's very
cocky.
and it's heel.
Yeah.
And it's not like Roman Reigns.
If you have her flash,
the
like it's
fans
not like if you
aren't-
have her flash a smile a couple times that it's gonna
you
change
can't just
that.
walk out and smile,
Yeah.
and then go sit down at a broadcast booth, and then just talk shit.
Yeah.
and be
It
like,
just doesn't. Unless you're the
I mean,
Miz.
Yeah.
Unless you're the Miz. But
The
that's
Miz knows how
that's
to work,
art.
though. He can. He can has the crowd eat out of the palm of his hand.
Yeah.
Miz knows what he's doing. You're Ronda Rousey. You don't know what you're doing yet, and maybe that's one reason why they're keeping her off TV a lot. But to me, the biggest problem is that she doesn't know how to really work yet. In general, she's learning, but to throw her straight into the main women's match, her first singles match is a title shot.
Mm-hmm.
So it's already kind of like setting up this Brock Lesnar sort of ordeal.
Yeah.
And it's really not.
It
the
doesn't
way to
really
go.
it doesn't really do her any favors at this juncture.
And then there's the
And-
rumor that she's only going to be around a year anyway.
Yeah.
She just wants to do it for a year. So
When I think
what do you do?
Well, I think they tried to do what would probably be the most. I hate to say this because I was very sad about Alexa Bliss winning. I called it. I figured it was going to be her.
I figured it would be
But-
Alexa, Natty, or Sasha.
I didn't think it was going to be
And
Natalya.
I was like-
I figured it was probably going to be Alexa or maybe heel Sasha if Sasha
thought
somehow turns in the match.
Perhaps
but
they would do Natty in the effect of Natty cashing in on Ronda to get more of a face
Heat.
push.
Well, yeah. So actually, that was why I called it being Alexa Bliss because I was like, if there's any women's heel in the WWE right now on Monday Night Raw that could get Ronda Rousey over as a face, it would be Alexa Bliss. Because Alexa Bliss is so good at just being the bitchy
enough.
character.
That's enough.
I love that.
Too much salt. Okay, everybody wants to know about this.
But yeah, no, it's just if there's any
No, I
if there's
agree.
anyone that can cut a promo and be the snotty mean girl that will make you want to see her get beat up, it's Alexa Bliss.
Here's the biggest problem I find right now is that it was. I thought it was fine that they had her win, and that she cashed in that night. I thought that was great.
Yeah,
It's kind of sad that they took the title off Nia already,
yeah.
and she had this pretty good run.
I don't anticipate
Or
that
didn't
Nia
get
is
this
getting
pretty
it
good
back.
run. I don't know what happened there. I know that there's now some animosity, apparently between Nia and Alexa. They're talking about like real life animosity, and it probably stems from
That.
that. You know,
You should probably shake that a little bit.
And I'll try it too.
I mean, just saying. And not shake it with your mouth. Okay, whatever. Whatever. Anyway.
whatever.
Yeah, it's
Just a little bit.
a little
That's good.
disappointing.
It is. It's kind of
But-
very disappointing. Because you
I'm hoping that
there's
things will
so much
work
hope for
out
like the
somehow.
women's division.
Yeah.
And that there's talk that maybe we might eventually get women's tag titles on the show.
Why are
We're
you
of
going to
course
have
getting
all of
NXT
these?
UK Women's Championship is going to be coming. And it's like you
Tony
talk about
Storm.
pushing women's wrestling, but it doesn't happen. It really doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Especially when, Ronda Rousey comes in. She's a huge name,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't see that they're using her effectively
No.
to capitalize on that and push women's wrestling.
They're pushing her.
Yeah, they're pushing
And it's
her.
unfortunately a lot of times at the expense of the other women on the roster.
And
which I get it.
It's a
There's
question-
there's only one person that can be at the top.
Right.
But
if you're looking at it and you go, okay, who is going to make a name off of Ronda Rousey? Nobody.
yeah.
I hate to say it, but I mean, at this point, she's a name value only in regards that she was a dominant UFC champion, but when she lost that title, everybody turned on her. So it's like her name value is nothing that's going to bring in fans, really. They're
Not
not,
at
going to
this
bring in
juncture.
UFC fans.
Not at this juncture.
If she was joining WWE for like the
You'll
long haul,
you'll bring in casual. This is where the casual fan things comes in again.
I don't think so.
Whereas I definitely think that the casual UFC fan that just sort of surface level knew, oh, Ronda Rousey was big. Oh, the
Here's the
four
problem with
horsewomen of MMA.
Here's the problem I have with that is that if you're a casual UFC fan, casual WWE fan, and you watch, you're like, oh, she lost. Oh, poor Ronda Rousey. Oh, she joined wrestling now? That's because wrestling's easier than UFC. That's the casual fan mentality. So if you want to say, oh, well, yeah, you know what? She almost beat Nia, so Nia must not be as good as the UFC champions. That's what you've done.
Yeah.
Because Ronda lost the title. She took all that time off. She went back. She went straight for the title again, which had all the UFC fans up in a frenzy. And then she got her ass whipped. And then now she's in WWE because everybody looks at it, well, it's easier. Yeah, she's going to capitalize on her name and she's going to go to WWE and pretend to fight.
I mean, it'd be a different story, Ronda at the top of her game, or if you were to
Yeah, like Brock.
bring in Chris Cyborg or
Right.
Amanda Nunes or someone else. That would be a little bit.
That's why I like
different.
Shayna Baszler versus Rousey. Baszler is like kicking ass in NXT, and I mean,
tried. I can't do it.
I can't do it right either. Like how she
My thumbs
my
can't
thumbs
can't
don't
curve
bend.
that
That's
well.
weird. I was trying it last night too.
I tried to. I just
Baszler
can't.
looks awesome, but you know what? She's paid her dues on the indies.
I did it.
You're doing it so much better than us. She really
She
is.
fought Joey Ryan and took a title off him.
Took a bootplex also.
Kind
Took a
of like
bootleg.
this, and then turn
I'm-
it upside down.
I'm
That's
sorry,
the
but-
easier way.
Baszler has paid her dues. She's in NXT. She's actually has an enjoyable match. And,
You're right.
Ronda hasn't. She's
Well, I mean,
done a crossbody.
I think
Great.
character work wise, Shayna's a little bit more ahead, and I think she has an advantage because she's playing a heel, whereas a lot of that
Yeah.
sort of bravado and,
And that's
swagger
another
of
thing.
UFC
You have
lends itself a
Rousey
little bit
and
more easily
Baszler, and
to.
they openly have this friendship dynamic
Yeah.
that's displayed on TV, on pay-per-view, on everything. Baszler's open heel. We're supposed to think
Weirdly though,
Ronda's
only
a face,
only on
and it's
NXT
weird.
television because they don't acknowledge it so much in main roster.
It's weird. They did it on the pay-per-view. They hug. It's like, oh, okay, she's friends with a heel.
What
Like,
what's that
that's-
mean? Yeah,
I'm sorry, but they still have to think about these sorts of things.
they don't.
They don't.
Give him his head.
So, of course, the following Raw, Ronda also went off on Kurt Angle,
Yep.
and
Got
I'm
a
watching
30-day
it, and I'm like,
suspension.
this is horrible.
I was I was wondering like,
the top
is
face.
this supposed to be like turning her into like a Stone Cold?
That's, I think, the mentality. But the problem with that is a Stone Cold's 1 in a million. You can't just
You can't
make
just
a Stone Cold. You can't just make a Rock.
let's do this,
Notice-
this, and this.
Notice Roman Reigns, they can't just make a Rock.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. I mean, you could try to repeat it. They could turn Roman Reigns heel.
Well, it's also, and this
But-
is gonna make me sound like a freaking ridiculous smark, but honestly, the reason why they worked so well is because of the time they were in.
Yeah.
The Attitude Era allowed them for a lot more creative freedom as far
did,
as that
yeah.
sort of thing, to get over them as a heel or a face or anything that they wanted to try and accomplish. They were allowed to do a little bit more. Whereas in this day and age, there's a lot less that they're able to do. They're a lot more restricted as far as how they can speak and what they can do.
I would also say that today's WWE product is so controlled that it's harder for someone to get themselves over to a degree.
Well, and then also with the prevalence of social media and everything, that we see so much of their real lives, that it's
Also very well
if they
controlled.
if they don't
Because let's think about
extend it to social media, sort of like Ciampa.
Mm-hmm.
Ciampa's a great example. Keeps his persona all the way down.
it. Matt Hardy is kind
Hardy
of
as well.
But if we
These
think
are
about social
but these
media,
people are few and far between at
and
this point.
I don't want to switch topics here, but if we think about the Elite and what they've done with social media
Yeah.
versus how WWE has done with social media, it's apples and oranges. It really is. They've used it to promote themselves, promote the shows, promote
their
characters.
storylines.
The characters themselves and the storylines, created storylines that aren't even in the shows. That they've just kind of like have
that-
this alternate
Yeah,
storyline
but then
running along that goes
people
with it.
will watch, and then they'll be
It
able to
promotes
make
the
those
match.
connections
Yeah.
when the matches are
So
on.
it's like, if we look at WWE stuff, we're not getting that at all.
No.
I mean, you might get a tweet or something like that, but
or some
it's,
backstage video.
yeah, or like, I'm gonna beat you coming this week, or something.
Their creative team is a lot less creative.
But I mean, that's because you have such strict rules set by Vince McMahon that they can't do this and that. Plus, it doesn't help that at the show you have your creative meeting and you plan this out. This is our long-term goal, and then you get to the show and suddenly Vince goes, "Nope, I'm changing that." Does not help in the long term because you have to constantly rebook everything.
I think the other thing too is I feel like that certain times in the WWE specifically over this past year, there's been a twist for the sake of a twist. And then
Some
as far
Vince
as
Russo booking.
storyline goes, there's been no thought put into what will come
What comes
after
next.
and how it's going to affect
Yeah.
these wrestlers that were involved in said twist, and then things sort of fall apart or fade away and are not further explored.
Even most recently, like on Raw, it's like, oh, well, Brock's going to defend against this person. And then suddenly it's like,
Wait, what? We said that?
forgot. Like, that's
We
not
didn't
gonna
mean
happen.
that. That wasn't real.
That's like
Nobody
a
signed
big-
papers.
To me, that's like a huge blunder. And I'm a fan. I'm just kind of like,
Well, it's like the
do you not know what's going on?
well, it's like the match that was supposed to have Rusev at first, and then
the Undertaker one?
No,
Or
well
which
that
one?
too, but I mean, so on SmackDown, it was supposed to be
Yeah.
Rusev, I think, versus
Rusev versus AJ.
versus Styles,
Yeah, he won the...
and then.
Don't tell me
Then
that's
nope, they were
changed.
just like, oh no, Jinder versus Styles are gonna go for the title. It's just like, okay, what about
For the
Rusev?
pay-per-view?
No.
Oh.
But it was for a SmackDown where they had announced it, and then 2 days before the
Oh,
SmackDown,
yeah, that's right.
they were just like, nope, change
That's
it.
right.
And then it's sort of like poor Rusev was left without anything to do.
And
But it's like,
crazy.
did you just
That's another
forget?
one that they have no idea. Like, I mean, I get it. Like, you have
It's not
plans.
hard to keep track.
It's not, but you have plans. But then, and this is what Heyman was always good at, is like really being able to read an audience and pop culture and know what to do next. But WWE is like, no, Rusev's a heel. And the fans are like, no, we like Rusev. Rusev is a face.
Rusev Day.
And you have to roll with that. You have to go, okay, they want to see Rusev
It's
as
like
a
in
face.
theater. There's this theater game called Yes and it's supposed to teach you to be adaptable to different situations. So if like you're on stage and someone goes up in lines, you are somehow able to find a way to continue. This is the same thing. If you find that something happens and plans change, the audience isn't reacting how you were anticipating or were hoping, you try and adapt for that.
And that's
So-
part of like what you should be learning on the indies and whatnot. And like a lot of wrestlers talk, you read the audience. If something's not working, you kind of change your plan to get the audience into, because every audience is kind of different.
Yeah.
Hopefully they're learning this in NXT, but I kind of wonder, because it's such a strict structure for you're like, okay, this guy has to win to build for this and this.
Well, NXT is also a little bit different in that it's all
It's run by
pre-taped.
Yeah.
And it's run
it's
by
run by
Trips.
Regal and Trips, and it has
So-
really good staff. For
So
running it.
if anyone has a moment where they just totally go up or mess up, they can always find ways to fix it,
Yeah.
because the final product that's going to be seen on television is going to be, of course, the very best thing that you can put on.
Right.
Which I get and I understand. You want to put your best foot forward, and as far as these people that are coming in from quote unquote developmental, this is what's going to make or break them. And then you hope that you've trained them well enough that once they go up to the main roster and things are more live, that they're more prepared for it. And
Yeah.
sometimes they are, and sometimes they aren't. It's sort of a
Big cat.
crapshoot. But, which is a whole nother video entirely. But, I mean, just, yeah, it's,
Yeah.
there's just a different sort of format for
It's-
how they operate.
It's just, I don't know, it's very disheartening because you're watching the programs and it's getting to be hard to follow. I mean, it's not really must-see TV, but if you miss a week or two, things are
Then you're just
hard to
like, wait,
catch up.
what happened? Yeah, no,
Because
like,
it's like, who's heel, who's face.
okay, so I've been
But
missing.
then it's like that, watching it every week is like, wait,
Yeah.
when did they turn heel?
I've been missing Monday Night Raw for
I wouldn't
sickness,
say you're missing
sickness rehearsals, etc. But I've been missing it, and then all of a sudden I was able to catch some this past Monday. And another big story. One of my favorites. All of a sudden pulls a heel move, beats the crap out of Sasha Banks.
it. Yeah, and it's...
And I know
This
you have
story-
feelings about this, which is why I segued into this.
This story has been going on for like 2 years, maybe, at least a year.
What kind of pizza would you like?
Off and on between Bailey
Whatever
and
you
Sasha.
want to make.
And they'll work
Surprise
it for a month or two, and then they kind of like put it on the back burner, and then they work it and they put it on the back burner. And it seems
Because-
like we're
well, because
finally
they
to
were-
the point now.
They were under the impression of like, oh, well, no matter when we do this, it's going to be good because these two are good workers. But if you make it such a long, simmering sort of thing,
It's like crying wolf.
yeah.
It's to the point where I don't care if Sasha and Bailey turn on each other. And the build to this has been so.
They
more
killed the hype and the
Sasha
momentum.
is like kind of a heel
Yeah.
through this whole storyline. And then they pull out, Bailey attacks her because she won't come back and talk or whatever. And it's hard to read. It's like, okay, well, you've already done so much stuff where all these faces are doing heel tactics and the heels aren't doing anything to warrant stuff. Now you have a face attack another seemingly face, but it can't be even read as a heel move, really. And you even, like, if you go online and you look at the dirt sheets or whatever, people go, did Bailey turn heel?
Yeah.
Nobody knows.
Yeah. No, and that was
It's so shitty.
that
Nobody
was,
knows.
That was my big reaction. I was like, is this a heel turn or is this just her finally standing up for herself? Like,
It's
what's happening? Am I supposed to read this as a heel turn? Am I supposed to read this as comeuppance? Like, what am I supposed to read this as? The lines have not been drawn clearly enough in the sand.
So
Does that mean Bailey's the heel and Sasha's the face? Does that mean Sasha's the heel and Bailey's just beating up the heel? Like, what is it? Please.
Yes.
Please. Please be clear. I love both of them, and I will continue to cheer for
There
both
is
of them.
this very
But
bad thing going through WWE right now within the creative units, that there is this neo-philosophical, faux philosophical talk of like, well, if the fans already don't like them, then aren't they heel? No. No, if,
that mean-
if you're booking them as a face,
yeah,
if they're fighting heels, if they're wrestling a faces match, the dynamics of a match, because someone has to be the heel, someone has to be the face. If they're wrestling the face
it's pretty
part,
evident to see once the match
they're
gets going how
face.
they're working with each other.
despite if the fans are booing them, despite how they're acting, if you're booking them as face, if they're wrestling a faces match, if they're fighting heels, that person is a face. Despite the fans not wanting them to be a face, despite management apparently wanting them to be heel without establishing them as heel, it has become this huge quasi philosophical thing that does not belong in wrestling at all. I mean, you can have a movie where the protagonist is a bad guy because you're telling a story, but for wrestling to work, you have to have pretty clear lines of a good guy and a bad guy.
Yeah.
And just because of how the matches line up, because you're playing off the fans' emotions, so the whole concept of having a heel Roman Reigns but booked as a face against other heels, and he's heel but he's not, dude.
Too convoluted.
You've done messed it up. If you're having two faces, but then the faces are acting heels against each other,
Thank you.
it's just become,
Oh,
like you said, so convoluted. You're damaging your own product.
Thank you.
I can't imagine if let's look back at Hogan Andre. When Andre turned on Hogan to go after the title, if they had kept Andre face and booked him against other heels still, and then had WrestleMania 3 with a face Andre versus Hogan, would it have worked? Would it have actually drawn and filled out, what was it, the Silverdome? I don't think so. I think it would have been a huge flop because you're not playing off people's emotions that Hogan's friend Andre has turned on him. He has to not just turn on Hogan, but he has to turn on all faces.
Yeah.
And I'm feel positive you can go back and
Turned
look
his
at the
gigantic
tapes.
back on the world.
Because Heenan started managing him.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he had matches with like Hacksaw or whoever. And he fought faces instead of fighting heels then, because then he went to become a bad guy.
Yeah. And bad guys don't really fight other bad guys very often.
Yeah. That would be like Saruman fighting Sauron. He's like, no, I'm a bad guy, but I'm just not a bad guy. I'm still like friends with Gandalf.
We're still tight.
Yeah.
Also, they
It's-
weren't, but
Right.
that's for a different podcast of ours.
It's very, very bad. I mean, it'd be like having Ciampa turn on Gargano, but Ciampa's still being a face.
Yeah.
It wouldn't work as well.
Wouldn't have been as effective.
So that's my little rant. I don't know what's going on with Sasha and Bailey. I hope for your sake Bailey's turning heel because you're wanting her to become heel.
Yeah. It's like how
but-
I was just talking to my parents about this, so it's like how everything I've wanted over the past year. I wanted Sammy to turn heel.
Yeah, thanks for having Sammy turn heel so he could fight the loser Bobby Lashley and get both his shoulders ripped off. No Sammy for the rest of the year.
I know.
How do you feel about that? Let's talk about that.
It's sad.
I want to start ranting about Bobby Lashley.
I'm sad.
Not even Sami Zayn's super talent. I mean, I have never seen Sammy heal it up so much, and I mean good stuff.
It was obnoxious, absolutely like especially when he went to
Beautiful
shake
heel
his
work.
hand, and then he's just like squeeze. He's just he oversold, but it was beautiful.
It was, and even the this is Bobby's three sisters. Horrible storyline idea.
I love Sami Zayn.
Sammy tried his best to sell it. None of that could fix Bobby Lashley's boring ass. I don't even blame Bobby Lashley completely here. I mean, Bobby Lashley's pretty bland, but whatever they booked
But
for him,
a good creative team
oh,
can find your strengths and market them. That's
Let
the
me put it
point
this
of
way.
the creative team.
he did a lot better in Impact with
Yeah.
what they were giving him than
Yeah, he
what's
did.
going on here. This is bad. It's very bad.
March and Archie, what are you doing?
Plus, I mean, not only that,
You're March and Archie.
They introduced
Should be
Bobby
able to make this
Lashley,
gold.
and they expect everybody to remember him from before. There was no big introductions. It was
But they
just,
also
oh my goodness,
couldn't
Bobby Lashley is back.
couldn't talk about a good portion of his career with the whole Trump thing. But
Right there,
Again.
could have turned him heel.
again, a good creative team would be able to work around it.
It's it's really mind-boggling to me. Personally, I thought, oh, you should introduce Bobby Lashley with Paul Heyman, have him side with Brock Lesnar, and build from there. Have them take the tag titles too. Hold the tag titles hostage along with the Universal title, because why not? And at least then you have somebody coming out with Paul Heyman every week. Let Paul Heyman get Bobby Lashley over as a bad guy. And then when Lesnar loses the title, that tag team can kind of dissolve. They could turn on each other. And hopefully you could get some sort of face reaction for Bobby Lashley out of that. Or just keep him heel and replace Lesnar with Lashley. But
So many
Lashley
things that
is,
could have been done.
wow, he is so boring. He is so boring. He's finishing matches with a delayed suplex.
Look at that power! That power on display by Bobby Lashley.
And then he does it, and it looks like shit. He's like staggering with people, and it's like, dude, you got all these muscles, and
You can't.
uh,
They're doing their part. That core strength to hold themselves up, guy.
oh, I'm on Penny.
Ooh.
I actually had an idea for Bobby Lashley, playing off this Sami Zayn Vertigo thing.
Just dropping off.
What he
more
should do,
pizza.
Thank you.
have it out, suplex him out of the corner, right? Do the vertical suplex, and just kind of like walk out and then drop him,
You get more?
and call it a vertigo suplex.
I like that, actually.
If you're going to do it, you at least got to play it up some. But it's pretty bad. Bobby Lashley's pretty bad. It's pretty boring. He comes out, and this is the crowd.
What kind of pizza is this?
Oh. That's a pink pizza.
Pink pizza.
That's a sprinkle pizza.
Sprinkle
Yeah.
pizza, I like it.
Bobby Lashley's up next.
Mm.
I'm going to go back.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the crowd reaction.
That's what, yeah.
I'm
And
making
it-
more pizza.
it's
like
like-
a little bit.
Thank you.
There's, I mean, at least this past Monday, there was a little bit of response, because I don't know why. I mean, I really don't. There's a little bit of response, it seemed like. He's messed up his written promos a few times. One time he called Roman Reigns like the world champ or something. I can't
Too
remember.
soon, Bobby. Too soon.
It was really bad, though. I don't
Giving
know.
away secrets, Bobby.
I will say this. This past Monday, Roman Reigns was cutting some, good promo work out there. And I think it's because, in some ways he's embracing that he's heel. You're not. By the way, you're not heel, Roman. They really need to pull the trigger.
Going into business rooms.
He needs to. They need to pull the trigger and turn him heel. Everybody's saying this. Everybody realizes it.
It won't hurt him like they think it's going to hurt him.
It's not, because anybody that buys his merchandise right now doesn't care if he's face or heel, honestly. I don't know. Enough about Roman Reigns and Bobby Lashley.
Let's talk about another big
Poor
guy.
Sammy. Braun?
No. Yeah.
Big Cass. The casserole.
It's out on his ass.
Tuna casserole. What did I tell you the other day? He's like a tuna casserole.
It's great.
Nobody wants that shit. It's big, it takes up space, and nobody eats it, and then at the end of the night they just dump it in the trash.
That is, I think, exactly what you said, but let me look it up because I laughed so hard when
You laughed so
said
hard
that.
you didn't reply for like an hour.
He's like a tuna casserole. Nobody gonna fucking eat it. It's big and just takes up space. And it just takes up space at the table until someone tosses it in the trash.
Yeah. So the only reason Big Cass was ever pushed
Because he's big.
because he's big. Because,
7 foot tall.
Let's be honest, he didn't show a
whole lot of improvement.
promise in the ring. He did a big elbow drop.
Did a sidewalk slam, I think,
He
also.
did a sidewalk slam. He did a big boot.
Thank you.
I don't know. I think that's about it. There was apparently a lot of heat on Big Cass after his that kind of like flop feud with Big Show. He wasn't really able to
Thank
get
you.
over from that.
There's a lot of pizza.
It's such good pizza.
Man, I don't know. And then of course the Daniel Bryan thing.
Don't
He,
let it put in your mouth.
Yes, sicko. Way to spread germs.
But when I think there was also he
my
also
favorite part.
got
my
a
favorite,
considerable amount of heat after beating up that little
so
person.
Brian's putting Cass in his yes lock, right? And Cass is fighting it, and Brian's like, "No, Cass, you're supposed to fight it." And Cass is trying to put his hand behind Daniel Bryan's leg, and Brian's like pulling his arm, like, "No, fight it, fight it."
Sell
And
it,
finally,
idiot.
finally he just gave up and just locked him in it. And
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, wow, Daniel Bryan carrying this match on his back again.
Daniel Bryan carrying 7 feet and 300 some pounds of shit.
Failure.
So the breaking point in all this, after the 2 flop feuds, the going into business for himself against Vince McMahon's direct orders
To not beat up that little person.
to make your finisher look like crap. Like he hit his finisher on the little person, and then he actually went over and started beating him up more.
Beat him up more.
Instead of just like,
Well, and then
Make
Vince
your finisher
McMahon.
look like
Vince
so awesome.
McMahon even told him, "Don't do that. That looks tasteless."
yeah.
If Vince McMahon is saying that, that's bad.
So he went into business for himself. They still okay.
He apparently
Daniel Bryan feud.
gets in like he gets locked in a bathroom on a tour bus by accident.
wasn't locked
and
in
thinks,
at all?
Thinks someone's ribbing him and just busts open the door, and so then that tour bus just didn't have a door on their bathroom. Nobody could piss in private. It's just
I'm
rude.
surprised they didn't like beat his ass. I really am. And this is kind of goes not to segue here off of the topic, but this kind of goes to like the modern wrestling world versus like the old wrestling world. Because if that was
old
like
school.
yeah, if that was like El Gigante had done that, Paul Orndorff would have like kicked his ass.
Yeah.
You know, and just size comparison there. I'm really surprised nobody in the locker room beat Big Cass's ass for destroying the door.
It's just rude.
Yeah.
It's just disrespectful and inconsiderate.
Yeah. What if somebody had to take a shit?
Even if you think it's a
I wouldn't
rib,
want other people to look at him taking his shit.
even if you genuinely think it's a rib, just
Oh,
take
well.
the rib.
That's part of the business, right?
Yeah.
I mean, stand up for yourself. By
What
all
are
means,
what
but
are you that you can't take the rib?
If you're 7 foot
Who
tall,
are you?
If you're 6'7" and 300 pounds, and you can't get out. Of
Have
that
you held a
bathroom
title?
door and
Have you? No.
touched it. Yeah. So bad attitude, all that.
And then
Whoever thought Enzo would have been
yeah,
the better
Enzo.
one of the two? This whole group,
Tiny size.
it's really bad.
Well,
Yeah,
and then-
Enzo even called him a bitch. That's how bad.
Well,
it is.
okay, so Enzo went on record and had mentioned that when they were feuding, and he tore his ACL. He just rose out of the ring. He just walked out instead of.
Remember, he got up and then he collapsed. He got up and he collapsed, and then
And-
he was like, "That's it." He couldn't finish. He started crying. He was like crying.
It's just sort of like
And
this is
you
the
know, they threw
business
up
you're
an
in.
X and-
When you look at other people that have
Let me compare right here. Lars Sullivan, who at whatever stage of the match got his jaw broke, split in half. And then not only did he finish the match, but he took a couple more black masses on that broken jaw.
yeah finished
dude.
the match. Even okay, I'm not a big fan of Enzo Amore. Enzo Amore only walked out or only got X on a match when he actually concussed himself and just like passed. Like he passed out. He was out cold.
Yeah.
He finished like he just physically couldn't do it. I'm
Who
not
signed these guys?
I'm not the biggest fan, but I mean just
Let's-
that level.
I'm just going to take it even out of here. Someone WWE decided to pass on as a wrestler. Brandy Rhodes in Japan broke her collarbone in 2 places.
Her shoulder
Yeah. Finished the match. I believe had another match
wrestled it.
before even getting checked out.
That's hardcore.
That is hardcore.
So yeah. But then after all that, what gets Cass fired is that he grabbed Carmella,
Yeah.
trying to get back with Carmella, and apparently
And
the
she-
Usos stepped in, and then
so,
Eric Rowan.
So the dirt sheets say, and of course this is just all
Who
rumor,
knows?
but dirt sheets say they're having an argument. Things got a little escalated, heated. She went to go walk away. He grabs her to be like, "Nope, we're not done with this." People try and tell him to back off. He doesn't back
Here you
off.
go.
Thank you.
The rest of
He doesn't back off, and
They should have
it
filmed
takes
that shit.
it takes the Usos and Eric Rowan to pull him away.
Because you know the Usos step in, and Cass probably didn't know. And
They're
Eric
like, "Yo,
Rowan
Us-
stepped in, and it was like,
more pizza.
okay.
All right.
Because let's think about it. Big Cass, Eric Rowan. Cass is 6'8".
Rowan's actually
6'9".
7 foot tall.
If they're probably nose to nose, they're probably about the same height.
Yeah.
Because Rowan is probably like 6'6", 6'7". So yeah, I would probably
I would back off.
yeah. They should do a storyline now. Carmella and Eric Rowan.
They're both champs.
Beauty and the Beast. Oh wait, they're doing that already. I don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing either. But yeah, apparently that's after that got back to management. They just axed him. It almost sounded like reading it that McMahon did it in front of everyone at the meeting, but that just could have been the way it was written.
Yeah.
I hope he did though.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Well, I mean, it's honestly, it was pretty
This
evident.
is today's meeting, and by the way, Cass,
is
you're
fired.
fired.
And I mean, for someone who seemed to really have so little consideration for everyone
Oh.
else, good for him.
Yeah.
And there's so many people that are just like, oh, I wonder what indie circuit's gonna pick him up. I hope none,
Yeah, hopefully none.
because
But
he obviously has a shit attitude.
yeah. But I mean, like, if he really is going to continue to be a professional wrestler, this is the best thing for him to get fired, to go out on the indies and kind of earn his spot.
Yeah,
back.
learn a lesson.
I feel the same way about Enzo. Get out there and rebuild himself and actually learn how to wrestle. And they need to learn respect, you know, and they'll learn it on the indies for sure, because they'll be out there with some guys. Maybe they can push around some guys, but there's a lot of guys on the indies that they're not going to be able to push around.
Yeah, go wrestle a match with New Jack, see what happens.
New Jack Sabu.
I would pay money. I would pay money to have New Jack versus Enzo and Cass. 2-on-1 handicap match. I don't even care. I would gladly.
You know what I would do? Like, if I was booking, and anybody watching this, if you're booking stuff, please feel free to take these
think
ideas.
of this. Yes.
I may even kind of throw this idea at one of my booker friends. I would book Cass against
Here.
some old guys, man. Like, as long as they can still go, like, I would book him
Dory
against.
Funk.
Yeah, you know, and let him try to pull some of this stuff on these older veterans and get his ass whipped. You know, I'm not trying to promote violence, but
But
I
Some-
feel like I'm not saying New Jack here because
I
New
am.
Jack will kill somebody.
I'm saying New Jack.
But
I'm 100% New
you know,
Jack.
I think it's one of these situations where like, I think it was Vampiro first started.
More pizza.
And Rick Steiner first started in the U.S. and Vampiro was already a big name in Mexico, so he probably didn't feel like he needed to listen to anybody.
But
But I think it was Vampiro that Rick Steiner had a match with him, and Steiner told him to go down on the punch, and he didn't listen, and he got
Whole
decked.
pizza is Swiss cheese.
And I think as Vampiro tells it, he got like busted open pretty good. And then there was another incident later on with Rick Steiner too, where he was fighting some indie guy, and the guy didn't want to listen to what Steiner said. He said, go down on the one punch, and the guy took like
Thank you.
2 or 3 punches. Like Steiner hit him, and he just kind
And look at the
of
plate. Match.
Steiner hit him again.
Oh,
and,
cool.
yeah. So the third time, Steiner like decked him. He like for real, pulled his punch on him, and the guy went down, of course, because he really legit got hit. But I mean, it's one of those situations where it's like, in the old days with the veterans, you would be respectful and you would let the veteran kind of call the match
well, because they have
until
the experience.
you got respected.
Yeah.
and
They
knew
know.
what
They
you
just
were
know
doing.
better.
Right. So I kind of hope like Cass has to get out there and work with some of these guys and learns from it, because even like with Warlord and Barbarian, they had to face each other a few times back in the days in the territories, and as the Warlord calls it, Barbarian, who had been working in
Daddy.
Japan for
I want to put,
eons,
put my light over here.
and in Japan they work pretty stiff.
Yeah.
And Barbarian was stiffing the shit out of the Warlord, and so like he like stiffed him back, and he got it even worse because Barbarian didn't realize he was stiffing him that bad. But once he got stiffed, he just gave a paycheck.
Yeah.
So if Big Cass and Enzo get on the indies and they work with some of this older talent and work with some of these older talents and actually learn respect, how to work, and whatnot, then maybe we'll see them back in WWE one day. Who knows? But
They will go back to WWE.
it's one of those situations where if they don't learn, they're not gonna get booked.
No.
Nobody's gonna want to work with them.
And rightfully so, honestly. If you're going to have that kind of terrible attitude about it, you don't deserve to get booked.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like what was it? Sexy Star went into business for herself, and now a lot of people don't want to
Yeah, I mean,
work with her.
what has she done since?
Nothing that I've heard of, actually.
Same.
I know Cody's like, she's not going to be in my locker room.
Yeah. And props to Cody, honestly.
All right. Go blow your nose, go change your clothes.
That rhymes.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's our WWE focus video, sort of encapsulating what's been going on in WWE. Also, James Ellsworth is back, which my mom called.
Did she really?
Yeah. My mom was just like,
Oh, awesome.
I
I did not see that coming.
don't, so she was like, Carmella's gonna win again. Toadface can come back and help her.
Did not see that
And
coming
I was
at
just
all.
like, what?
Props,
But
Mom.
he's in the Indies, Mom.
Right, I had no idea.
And
he'd be
then
back.
she was like, well, I mean, I don't know how else she gonna win, cause like she no
Great
know how to
impression,
wait
Mom.
for cheat. The Enzo is gone. Cass they doing something else.
I know, I'm
Watch,
so
watch.
let down.
Toadface gonna come back, and I was just like, okay,
so
Mom.
let down that Enzo's gone and now Ellsworth is back, and I'm just like, oh, I'll never get my tag team of Enzo worth.
I mean, you
Ever.
could on the Indies. He's still working the Indies. He's still the intergender champion of the world.
We've seen Colin Delaney a few times as well.
That is true. We have.
Your Undertaker shirt's in the other room.
But yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of WWE review. I don't know where they're heading from here. Of course, Braun Strowman, Money in the Bank
Monster
winner.
in the Bank.
Uh,
I love that shirt, by the way.
everybody asks, Why the hell does he need money in the bank? And it's kind of true. Why does he need it? Because he could just go get it. He has every right just to be named number one contender.
They can get those hands. He'll
So
give it to them.
I don't know whose idea that was, but it was pretty stupid.
Especially in the face of other people that really could have used that
McIntyre.
push.
I would have given it to McIntyre.
He wasn't even in the match.
He wasn't. He should have been.
Out of the people in the match.
Let's really look at it. This dude is prime. He's ready. What? This is every day right there. McIntyre is ready. He's primed. He's really matured in the last however many years since he left WWE.
He really
Dude
has.
is massive. Just to show like the imaginary heights, and McIntyre I think is 6'6", 6'5". Dude's massive compared to everybody else around.
You just have to fill in that.
I would have done that. Of course, that's in my fantasy booking video as well. I say give it to McIntyre, but that's me. What do I know? I'm just a mark.
You're just a smart.
I'm a Marxist.
Anyway,
So yeah.
that's our video on WWE. We'll probably be doing